like to read for open mic. Hi, welcome to our Thursday book launch. Tonight, we're super excited to be celebrating and Scott Douglas, editor of Main Street Rag and the author of Living in a Red State Blues. I'm going to read a short bio. I do want to say that if you'd like to read for open mic, please let me know in the chat section. I see Dawn is back here. We celebrated her last week. And also Scott was here then. So it's nice to be amongst friends and celebrating someone that I hold very dear and call my literary brother, despite the fact that I'm kind of a PITA to him, which stands for pain in the ass. Scott Douglas grew up in Pittsburgh and lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. We also have his wife here, and they celebrated their anniversary, and it also is Jill's birthday month. We get to see the whole month, so you don't get a very long one. He is a publishing managing editor of Main Street Rag, a Pushcart Prize nominee, and North Carolina ASC Grant recipient. His poetry has been published in a lot of different magazines. I'll just read a few highlights. Mid-American Review, North American Review, 12 Mile Review. His graphic design has earned him 2 PICA Awards, and he does an Eric Hoffer Award nomination. His previous books are Just Passing Through, Hard to Love, Steel Womb Revisited, Balancing on Two Wheels, and Auditioning for Heaven. If you don't already know Scott, let me introduce him. I'm going to turn it right over to you, and we cannot wait to hear from you reading from this book. And I know already we've got Karen that's been holding the book up. And I do want to say, if you haven't already purchased the book, please go to Main Street Rag and do so. Scott, if we would like an autographed copy, can we reach out to you directly? Are you doing that?
Yeah, if you buy it online, just from Main Street Rag. You can also buy it from Amazon. That the publisher put it on Amazon. But if you buy it from Main Street Rag, I will sign it.
Perfect. All yours, buddy.
All mine. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna disappoint Karen for a minute here because I'm gonna start with a poem that is in a different book. It's called Just Passing Through, which is my last book. And after I read it, I will tell you why I read it. It's called Exposing the Goods. Surely the man who jogs Main Street every morning during rush hour feels healthy and satisfied. But all we see is gender-defying man boobs bouncing with a jolt from each footfall, an impact rippling through his body like a tsunami trying to wash away a lifetime of listlessness. We want to tell him, it isn't working, neighbor. Ask him if he's considered testosterone injections or surgery. Remind him that buses truck children to school each day on this road. And while their impressionable eyes are barely open at 7 a.m., a heavier shirt, a strap, hell, even a bra might shield them from a lifetime of confusion. So just wanted to get a little humor out there. When I started this collection of poems, it really started with a party in the neighborhood. Every Christmas, the neighbors across the street will put on a Christmas party, and they're big mega hat people. And I will read that poem to you a little later, but what it really came down to is I started getting all these red images in my mind, and I was seeing everything red, and everywhere I went, I'm like red. It's like, and you know, some of the people who have commented on the book, who have reviewed the book, were talking about the anger, and it really got me because at the time, yeah, it was angry. I was angry, but I kind of thought that I was taking on my anger with humor. And that was why I read that other poem first, because a lot of the stuff in here is humorous. I don't know how else to treat it. So anyhow, this one's called Clothes for Sale. Mostly shirts, like new, barely worn in several years, because I can't wear red anymore. The color has been commandeered by lurid ideology, corrupted in ways that make me ashamed to be seen wearing it in public. Even certain shades of pink and burgundy are now suspect, though not abundant in this collection. I would donate them all to Goodwill, but I doubt anyone who shops there would be more comfortable in them than me. And those who would shop for these items need to pay a higher price. I'd like to sell them as a group. We'll accept best offer, but realize the market for such things is quickly shrinking. I would turn them into rags, but the color is now so stained, I can't imagine anything it could clean. Yeah, there's my playlist. My friend James and I ride motorcycles. We've gotten to the point where we're riding during the week because on the weekend it gets crazy out there. The roads are just goofy. So we go through, when you want to ride the bike, North Carolina is a great state to do it. A lot of country you can go through, a lot of winding roads, and that's his favorite. And I just kind of tag along. But I see all these images out there, and the images that you see in this book, they're not all one place, but they're on the routes that we ride. This one's called The Color of Fraud. We live messy lives out here, past where the sidewalks end and roads narrow so much a tractor can barely pull a combine between the ditches on either side. A place where old barns melt into mud and take granddad's dead Studebaker with them. Where cow shit yields cornrows, billy goats trim lawns, and what they won't eat, the earth eventually swallows. Rusty machinery parts and broken toys lean against the weathered wood of a porch, itself a depository for worn furniture and museum pieces. Out back, a white International box truck rests on cracked tires, spills laundry from torn cartons on its tailgate like tissue hanging from the heel of a shoe. In this land of green and gold and brown, red is a superstar, a celebrity spotlighting a glorious past, stolen, but still within reach, if not for, because of, an ideology of blame, of what-ifism and what-aboutism, a dazzling ornament spinning cotton candy promises at a carnival for cancel culture cultists, masking reality as if slapping a coat of paint on it could fix the underlying rot. I guess maybe that one wasn't meant to be humorous, but what can I say? Our former president had some interesting and quirky habits, and this next poem is one of his habits, I guess. It's called Cone of Uncertainty. Some people enter your life like a hurricane, an angry deluge of bitter bluster, turn your home inside out, its contents scattered, mangled, blown up against your neighbors, or flushed out to sea on a twisting torrent of madness. They stay too long, and when they leave you nothing. They leave you stranded amid the clutter of a broken world without so much as a wave goodbye, as if a lover had dumped you by tweet, spun the words out across the globe for all to see. In the end, you live with the consolation that you survived this oppressive storm, that its maniacal term came and went, a lonely blip on history's radar. And despite its most expansive efforts, Alabama had still been spared. Boy, I yucked that one up good, didn't I? It happens. Not everything in this book is politics. I have some poems in here that are real near and dear to my heart. Mostly they're about my father, because my father died recently, and there are things, that aren't in this book. They're in the next book, that about my father and about our relationship and about, it's kind of a memoir type thing. But this particular piece, excuse me a minute, is about when he died. It's called March 13th. Today is the anniversary of my father's death. Or was it the day before when his eyes last opened? Or the week before when he froze in mid-sentence, rigid fingers reaching up to still air for stray words that never returned to him again? His words find me at odd times. It's only the last 2 innings of the game that matter. But it's unspoken moments that haunt me most, moments that echo throughout my day. The way he turned a cereal spoon upside down on the table when he was finished eating. Peanut butter spread to the edge of a Ritz, a dab of Smucker's black raspberry jelly in the middle. Knowledge is the only thing that's truly yours, the only thing they can never take away. On a shelf above my head, he sits, an 8-year-old on a black and white pony, tall and proud, fists full of reins. Sometimes I look up to that pony boy and chuckle, knowing his parents paid a nickel to have it taken at a carnival. How it was the closest he ever got to riding a real horse, city boy that he was. If you're gonna do something, don't do it half-assed. I thought of my father every day of the week leading up to this date. But morning found me immersed in work, the work he taught me, a job he envied. When my nephew texted a photo of his grandfather in a 1940s Navy uniform, shame swept a chill through me, realizing I'd almost let the day slip away, neglected. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I look up at that pony boy on the shelf and remember why, of all the photos I have of him, I chose to display this one. It's because it frames him as someone I know he never was, but reminds me of his most cherished gift to me. A sense of wonder, imagination, the foresight to perceive the possible. Face the music, even when you don't like the tune. I am my father's dreamer son, the one who sometimes loses track of time, the one who's been tossed from numerous horses, landed hard, but always found a nickel to climb back on, because that's what he expects of me. While I may forget days and dates, I will never forget that. Not that. It's so silent when we do this, my God. I feel like I'm in ghost town or something.
We could start yelling stuff out or, calling for certain poems like.
That's what we do when we did our open mics is, Jonathan and I, when we did our open mic series, it's like, it depending on who was reading, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but certainly to each other, we would poke fun. So, that, Rob, right? Rob, you've been there.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you actually are getting a lot. You just don't get to hear them yet.
Sure.
I mean, I wish you could see the chat and read, but you can't. But I love watching as people say the same line. Like we've had several that 3 people commented on that, right at the same time.
I got it sitting up here too, but like you said, I can't read and read.
Yep.
Let's see, what else do I have on my list here? Okay. I grew up in Pittsburgh, but my dad moved us to a town called Wheeling, West Virginia when he went to work for Wheeling Steel. And I lived in a little town called Warwood, which is right on the river. And I got a whole book full of poems about Warwood. It was a hell of a place to grow up. You know, you could get into all kinds of trouble. You know, you've seen the, what was it? Stand By Me. That's the kind of town this was. Okay. Anyway, the name of the baseball team that we played for was the Redbirds. And, you know, some of the kids that I played with, they went pro. We were good. Anyhow, this is called Redbirds. We were Redbirds once. Twice a week, we'd carpool from our homes in Warwood, proudly wear our red caps with the bold white R's on the field on Wheeling Island. They built a racetrack and casino where the field once stood, a football stadium across the many parking lots, something we sorely needed back then. To a 12-year-old, those bright red hats were a badge of honor in a small town that could only afford to support one team. We wore them everywhere. Our neighbors knew us, knew we were winners, hard-nosed, reliable, never surrender until the last out is called. We were Redbirds. I thought about my Redbird days as I watched men in red hats storm the Capitol building, beat police with flags, sticks, bats, spray them with bear repellent, and wondered about the symbolism. Would a young player today whose team colors and hat were red wear that hat around town with the same amount of pride we did? Or fold it in a glove and chuck it deep into the corner of a closet after the game or season was over? This is one of the last poems I wrote for this collection. Excuse me. I've been clearing my throat a lot because I just realized or just discovered I'm allergic to food. Now, it doesn't keep me from eating it. I just so happen to be allergic to the stuff I like the most: garlic, peppers, you know, onions. I'm not giving them up. But I had to eat 2 hours and 2 hours before this reading so that I could even talk. So anytime you want to shut me up, that's how you just remember that. This is called Red Walks Into a Bar. It's not his usual bar, his usual crowd. It could be any bar in any bumpkin town anywhere in America. Everyone knows Red. Everyone knows his hat, his shirt, his swagger. He always orders top shelf, waits for the oohs and ahs to fade before scoping the room to see who's watching him. Chicks dig Red. Like they like riding in his red Corvette with the top down. They like being seen in public with a wealthy trophy hunter. Red knows how far a little flash can get someone like him. His success is mythic to those who he allows to bask in his shadow, submit themselves to his branding, follow in his entourage. Red is a prince of the neo-counterculture, messiah of transaction, come now to bless the worthy, share his rarefied air. He knows his value. He's bought it all with other people's sweat. Red walks into a bar and a party breaks out. Loud, brazen adoration until every bottle is empty and shattered on the floor. Then he slinks out a secret door, leaves his acolytes drained, fearful, envious of his excesses, accountable for his bar tab. Yes, everyone loves Red, but not as much as he loves himself. See, I'm reading ones that I'm testing you. I'm testing you guys. Okay, I'm testing you. When I did read before, there are a couple that I intend to read every time I read, and I will get to those. I'll get to at least one of them. I usually read Living in a Red State Blue, which is Living in a Red State Blue #2, because that's the first one that got published. Anyway, this is Living in a Red State Blues Part 1. The couple across the street props an old pallet dressed in red, white, and blue like a flag in their front yard, beside another hand-painted sign that reads, "Put God back in America." At Christmas, they host the neighborhood dinner, make everyone pray before we eat. A retired Marine, he lays his gun collection across the bed where we store our coats. That's true, by the way. In their not so private hours, we know they curse Obama and witch hunts and chant things like "lock her up" and "build a wall." They go to church each Sunday and Wednesday, sing gospels with other faithful. We decked our house with blue lights this year and skipped the neighborhood dinner. If the event ran true to form, some neighbors were wheeled in, others hobbled behind aluminum walkers. All would have held hands in group prayer, praised Donald Trump, discussed church events, how wonderful the dry ham is, healthcare costs, medications, vaccines, and mask mandates. My hands would have sweat through the pretense and the piousness. They fenced facts into a cage in the backyard, feed it only when they can't afford not to, invite neighbors over once a year to see how well behaved it is, how nicely they decorate this world in which they've barricaded themselves. I feel myself building a wall of my own, one day at a time, one brick of truth mortared to another. I'm already the neighborhood heathen. Soon they will cordon me off from the righteous, censure me, protect the flock from anything that might disturb the comfort of groupthink. I really do live in Red Central. Thank you. Let's see, what else do I have out of here that I have to read? I do have to read one more. How's my time doing? You got time for one more?
Oh, yes, definitely. Keep reading. You are good.
Okay, well, this is a poem that, it's like, I figure that a lot of people, if they are not of the right persuasion, they're going to see this poem title and they're going to say, I'm not going to read that. It's probably crap. But the title, I think the title is the best part of the poem. It's called Neoconservatives. It's like bursting in on grandma and grandpa doing the nasty, two octogenarians wriggling against each other on the living room sofa, closed glasses and canes strewn to places their hands can't reach when the action is over. You stand transfixed by the moment, the awkwardness of it all. Arthritic fingers flapping for handholds on wrinkled flesh. Grandma's eyes glazed open like prey in a leopard's jaws. Worst of all, they know you are there. They know you are watching. They know that no amount of pleasure they feel will ever heal your scorched eyes or make that couch look comfortable again.
If people want to unmute, please do. And we can take a moment to say thank you, Scott.
You'll hear me
Oh my
cackling.
Thank you,
Wow.
Scott.
Bravo.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. I
So-
mean, there are so many comments in there. I don't
Yeah.
even think I could begin to read them all. Does anybody want to jump in with questions? I don't think I missed any questions. It's certainly a lot of compliments in here. There was so much that was quotable. It was hard to keep up with it. Susanna wrote, thank you, Scott.
Yes, I'm good on questions. I have lots of answers. They're not always good answers, but they're there.
So, yeah, I was curious, when did you recognize you were writing this book? I mean, that it was, yes, powerful reading is what Hilda said.
Well, you know what? I wrote like 6 poems in a day, and I realized that, because all of a sudden I had this 6 images hit me all at once. So it's like, okay, I started, and then I had 6 other images that I thought, okay, I got to play with this later. But I just kept little snippets, and then I take the snippets, whenever I had something else to do, and started putting them together. I guess it was, to answer your actual question, I guess it was probably late 2018.
Yeah, and there's a really another important question. I think people are curious about your process. One person in particular asked, like, when do you come up with your titles? How do you approach your writing?
Well, sometimes the title comes first for me, which I know is like against all rules. But when I know that it's like when you get on the road, where the destination is. It's the side streets and everything that you take that to get you there that make it interesting. So when I know what the end line is, when I know where the destination is, that is a lot of times ends up being the title or some version of the title. And then, I just start riding and get me there. So
I like that image, and it actually works for you on a lot of different levels.
well, when I was a lot of these, when I took that ride across the country last summer, for those of you who didn't know, I took about a month and a half off last year, and I rode a motorcycle to California and back. I put about 8,000 miles on the bike in 40 days. And I spent a lot of time, just inside my own head, listening to the wind and yeah, now that too. Jill's walking by making fun of me. But that's all you hear is the wind. So I'm able to play with lines while I'm walking or while I'm riding. And that's, and then, when you stop, you get the computer out, or the paper out, and you write it all down and put it all together when you get home.
Yeah, I wondered how many of the poems were written on that trip.
None of them.
None of them.
None of them were written on that trip. As a matter of fact, because my book before that was Just Passing Through, and it was all motorcycle poems. And I thought, I think it had its place, and it had its run. And I think that if you just keep visiting the same thing over and over again, people tune you out. So, but that doesn't mean that I didn't use that time to refine what I was working on. I didn't write any new poems, but I did a lot of refinement while I was traveling.
So does the rhythm of driving your motorcycle affect how you write your poetry?
Oh, I think so. Without a doubt. Have you ever ridden a motorcycle?
A long time ago.
Okay. Well,
But yeah.
when you're just riding down the street, no big deal. Like when I'm just doing a weekday ride, it's usually more than 100 miles. And so, we're not stopping a lot, it's like 50 miles or 60 miles or however long it is. And you get, I don't wear a full face helmet. You're hearing the road, you're hearing the tires rolling, and it has a certain rhythm to it, depending on how fast you're going. So.
Great question. Kathy just wrote, I got Just Passing Through for my husband, and we really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, how many people have been published by Scott, a poem or a book that's here? You can raise your hand.
I have.
Yeah.
Scott,
Yeah.
while Malika brought that up, I'd just like to say thank you, because you published my first poem that I wrote after I got out of graduate school, and it's going to be in my first chapbook coming out soon. So I really owe you a thank you.
Yes.
We
That's
do
awesome.
we can to publish as many people as we can.
And you have, and thank you for bringing that up, Chrissy, because I think that that's one of the beautiful things about being someone who, you know, is integral to our, you know, our poetry and literary community. And it's also nice to hear your fine poetry, because like you were saying, is some people don't realize that you are an amazing poet, and you know, your craft and your skill are one of the things that I think we all admire. But I have to say, I do like your wit, your humor, and your sarcasm as well.
Yeah, I don't think everybody appreciates my sarcasm, but it is what it is.
Irish descent is what's for breakfast every morning. Did somebody have a hand up that I missed? I got a note that somebody had their hand up. Just unmute. We're pretty relaxed here and jump in. And I don't
Oh,
see
I
a
was
hand
just,
up.
I had my hand up because, yeah, I had my couple of poems in Main Street Rag over the, you know, years, and I just love it. I've always loved what Scott does, and so I'm a fan. Thanks.
Okay, Kathy, sorry I missed that.
Oh,
I get a
no,
lot of
no,
credit
no
for stuff that
problem.
other people do too. Don't you know? It's like Maria Raphael is. I'm probably saying her last name wrong, but that's my poetry editor. She picks out a lot of stuff that goes for the magazine. I very rarely override Maria. She scares me sometimes.
This is a first. I'm writing that one down. I want to talk to Maria. But I did want to circle back to, you know, with these poems getting published, where did you send them to, and what have you found response-wise before the book came out?
Oh, geez. You know what? I went after all big name places. I didn't, you know, it's like I was going after poetry. I was going after every place trying to find, you know, poetry. I probably sent them in batches of 5. I probably sent them 30 poems over a course of 2 years before I just kind of threw it down and said, well, obviously they don't like my work. And the more that I read poetry magazine, the more I think, well, my work doesn't fit in there. But I don't, you know, I went for mostly Midwestern university magazines. I didn't try any online magazines at all. I guess call me lazy there. But you know, part of the problem that I have, and I was talking to my friend James about this the other day. My best time of day, the best time of day for me is from like 5 in the morning until 9 in the morning. I am at my peak. Well, guess what's going on from 5 to 9? I'm reading emails. I'm taking the dog down the street. Jill and I having breakfast, you know, all the things that interfere with my flow. So writing something at that time, getting organized at that time to send stuff out, then the day starts and what are you into? I mean, today I designed 2 books, you know, and I have to find time for myself. It's almost like I have to reserve a weekend and say, close the door back there and say, leave me alone. But then somebody's got to cut the grass.
And Laura, someone's
And
got
I imagine that's a
Laura,
real
you need horses. They'll cut it for you.
I was
I have
actually
a
thinking family goats because ours, you know, isn't. I don't think we could do horses where we are.
mini horse, mini donkey. It's like a big dog. Laura, you were nodding in agreement with what Scott was saying with the carving out time.
Yeah, my mornings get caught up so fast and that's the peak time to write. I think for a lot of us, it's where, you know, as you're just coming out of sleep, there's a creative urge, and then I get sidetracked every time by other demands, and it's insane. So I don't write very much at all.
Saturday or Sunday. But, you know, we're in that time of year now. It's like, okay, well, this Saturday is a holiday weekend, right?
Right.
Okay. So we're up to the mountains, which is where we were last weekend too. So.
Well, thank you so much. It was fabulous to hear you read them. It really was.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm sorry about the times that
I could not keep. Oh, you did fabulous. And I felt bad that I couldn't keep up with all the things that I wanted to write down. But the good thing is I have the book. I can go back to it. Oh, and Hilda wanted to make sure that we said that she was also published by Main Street Rag. Her hand is up, but it's invisible. If there's not any more questions, we will head to open mic, and I have a nice long list. I'm glad to see so many people wanted to read, so I think we will head in that direction. If I missed your name, send me a message. Thanks, Regina. I didn't see you before. And this is in no particular order. I would like to say I followed the order, but I did not. David, I'm going to come your way. If there is anybody who would prefer me to not record while you're reading, just send me a message and I'll pause it, okay? And I'm making you the spotlight, David. We can't hear you and you're unmuted, so I'm not sure what's going on. Nope, still not. Try now. No. It looks like you might be having technical difficulty. Do you want to, do you have an external mute? I mean, the external microphone?
Just go on to someone else.
Oh, now I can hear you.
I didn't change anything. I just muted and unmuted again. Can you hear me now?
It's very soft, but we can hear you.
Okay, well, let me move a little closer. How's that?
Yes, it's a little better.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, Donna Beal and I are in a poetry group that meets a couple of times a month under a tree in a park. And we sometimes have a theme, and trying to keep our spirits up in this past year with all its things. One time our theme was humor. This is a poem called He Who Laughs Lasts. I can't remember the first time I laughed. Will I remember my last? It depends, I suppose, on circumstances surrounding my final days or hours or minutes. Maybe I'll be in the middle of a hilarious story when a knock comes at the door. Maybe someone will say, let them knock. I've got to hear how this ends. Leaving Death standing on the porch, tapping his foot, checking his watch. But maybe Death hears my voice through an open window, hears the laughter at the end. Maybe he smiles and waits to see if there's another joke coming. Or maybe he bursts in laughing. You think that's funny? Wait till you hear this one.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, this is going to be a fun open mic. Don, I'm coming towards you next.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see everyone here. Those I know, a few, and Scott and Susanna and Malika. Juneteenth has been celebrated for 150 years in remembrance of delayed emancipation by those descended from American slavery. As a newly minted national holiday, it is a remembrance for everyone here and around the world of the past and ongoing disgrace that is America. Juneteenth at Carter Howell Strong Park. Just clear of the underbrush, I walked at the street's edge, up Dewey to the grocery, an old Frenchtown morning and 95 degrees. Rusty metal roofs, an occasional two-story driveway vinyl siding and a plaque marked with the original owner's name and profession. A man on a bicycle, two more in a truck, a rare parked car, a woman walking, another in an overgrown lot, a pickup on flat tires, the driver's door lying on the engine. I stopped at a Quick Mart, paid 20 for a baseball cap. 2 blocks on, the 4th Street Market, meat cases and canned vegetables, bagged ice and meat cases and canned juice, bagged ice and sad vegetables, paid 20 for a case of Coke and a lemon. Our French town, we never walked there as kids or even considered it as we grew. And they never came around our streets either. I took a turn round the pond, shirtless in that Tallahassee sun, an egret with fanned wings on the fountain in the center, rippled water at one end, laughing gulls and geese, pigeons and crows settled in the shade or foraging together. At the other end, trash and algae, and from every bench, men waved hello, shade trees overhanging, toothless. One even offered a beer, though he had to repeat himself for me to understand.
Oh, Don, thank you.
Oh, beautiful.
Fabulous. Robert, I'm headed your way. We've got a lot of great readers tonight. We're going to have fun.
Congratulations, Scott, and thank you for publishing my poetry. I'm going to read a poem from my current manuscript. It's one of Shakespeare's villains, and it's a villanelle for a villain. His name is Edmund, and he's from King Lear. The title of the poem is called Edmund Base. The groundlings always cheer the bastard's lines, because I'm more than just a plot device. So prospered evil in its baseness shines. I thrive on stealth as nature's law declines. The tribe of theater viewers love the vice. The groundlings always cheer the bastard's lines. My fierce mind shapes a letter that maligns the honest son. My malice brands with lies, and prospered evil lets the baseness shine. The base deprives the heir a true bloodline, and takes the land away without a price. The groundlings always cheer the bastard's lines. Asleep suspicion grows, but wakes pure blind. The groundlings stand, their lusty base enticed. A prospered evil full of baseness shines. Deceived, Lord Gloucester's duty bound to find his wayward son. Though chains and racks suffice for prospered evil, so its baseness shines. The groundlings always cheer the bastard's lines.
Oh, Robert, fabulous. I want to point out that right away Karen wrote, "Oh, Rob, you had me at a villanelle for a villain." Masterful, thank you. I am coming to you, Christy. Give me just a second. There you are. Let me make it the spotlight.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
You're good.
Okay. I live in an apartment building, so you can hear everything, and this is a new poem. The floor above my ceiling weeps. Overturned furniture scrapes her skin. A flung body mimics a sucker's punch. Pinned wrist and strained ankles bruise, mapped out hiding spots, chewed open by a rug's frazzled fringed teeth, left to suckle blood from the open mouth of a cracked skull. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Christy. I want to say that right off, that line of the floor above my ceiling weeps. Wow. Donna, I am coming to you. I know that you are having some maybe internet issues. So we
Yeah,
will.
I live in the same area that David Riddle lives in, so, but
Gotcha.
we'll give it a try. I celebrated my 70th birthday in March, and I had to write this poem. I turned 70 in March. Weeknights, my husband and I play Jeopardy, see answers and visions of thought. Can't remember the words. Last night he mentioned that senator from Florida. Neither of us could remember the name. We started our password routine. He's Republican, ran in a presidential primary. Trump made fun of him for drinking water. Parents were from Cuba, you know. My husband says his name starts with M. I say R. Google search senators from Florida. My brain hollers out a name before I finish looking it up. I called my mother this afternoon. She can't remember what she ate for lunch, but it was good, she says, then asks if I'm married. Today I think of sand mandalas, how nothing is planned, how it all just happens, then goes away, how each holy circle is precious and alive.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. And congratulations on turning 70. Mm.
Yeah. Well, now when we can't remember something, we just fill in Marco Rubio. So
That's awesome. Yeah, Karen just wrote, and I hope the people that are reading, please check the chat section because you are getting comments and I don't want you to miss them. That's lovely. Karen said, Donna, this poem moved me so deeply.
Thank you, Karen.
Carolyn, I am headed your way.
Okay.
All right, Caroline, just 1 second. I think I got you.
All right. Y'all can hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Great. Well, so I am new to North Carolina. I've been here about a year. I haven't met hardly anybody in this group yet. I look forward to learning about your poetry and getting to know you. This, my book, Asylum, has just come out from Main Street Rag. I want to thank Scott as well. And I'm going to read a poem. The book is a lot about my mother. She's on the cover. She was, this is 4 years old on the Mississippi floodplain. She was a sharecropper's daughter. And so some of the poems are about her. A lot of it's about her and what came of her life and our life together. This one is called Cypress Left Standing. Lake County, Tennessee. My mother loved this lake, its shallows and throngs of snowy egrets. Reelfoot Lake, the compass my ancestors called home. I imagine a girlhood, family outings, sweet corn, fried chicken, red checked cloths, but the images flicker in black and white. After earthquakes and Mississippi floods created the lake, loggers felled every tree whose roots were underwater. Cypresses still standing seem to whisper. Foxes and red-winged blackbirds sound out my name. I kneel at my mother's grave, feel her on the banks, in the fields, hear her in the muted wing beats of a great blue heron as egrets fill the trees with blossoms of lace.
Oh, beautiful. I'm so excited that we get to celebrate your book sometime after August, maybe. So y'all that got to hear that one. Yeah, Scott wrote beautiful. And then both Laura and I were a compass my ancestors called home. Yes. Oh, there's a whole bunch of comments, Caroline. So I'll refer you to the chat section.
Thank you.
Laura, I am coming your way. Give me a second. There you are.
Great. Everybody can hear me, I hope.
Yep,
Okay, good. I wrote this poem a little while ago. It was on my birthday while I was in the middle of serving on the jury for the Al-Shafi al-Sheikh trial. You can look it up later. This is called Radicalize Me. You follow the friend you met at 5 to the mosque in the West End, past the white facades of privilege that stir anger, where you are fire-stoked by the one-eyed imam who who feeds you lies that were never set down in sacred text. He lays coals on the embers, promises of the caliphate to come, where you will be the ones with power. You will own the blindingly white homes with glossy blue doors and gleaming golden brass. Thank you.
Holy smokes.
Beautiful. Mm.
Laura, that's amazing.
Mm.
Yep,
Thank
this
you.
poem, he lays coals on embers. This is absolutely haunting. Yep. Y'all are knocking me out today. Marjorie, yeah, I just know it's going to be one after another where I'm just like, holy smokes, I can't write fast enough.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Scott. And your poem reminded me of this poem, so I'm going to read this. I've also been watching all the January 6th hearings. And as many of you know, January 6th is also the Feast of the Epiphany.
Mm.
So this is a sonnet. But when you were talking about your neighbors across the street, I thought of this poem, Epiphany. And so they rush the steps and bash the doors. With windows smashed, the winter light breaks in. Forgotten is the frankincense, the myrrh, the gold the wise men brought. Instead, our kin or neighbors storm the halls. We recognize their faces, tense with hate. In different form, they look a bit like us. Yet we surmise this mob that waves its flags, together swarms towards house or senate, cannot live so near. We say hello on walks, they guard our homes. This is the heart epiphany we fear. The ones we loathe and love might be the same. And that bright star, we find the manger bare, except for all our anger swaddled there.
Wow.
Ooh,
Gorgeous.
yes.
Mhm.
And that, can you hold up the cover for that, Marjorie? This was one of the books that we got to celebrate, Begin with a Question.
Mm.
And Scott, I think you have this one. Oops, I went away. I think you have this
Oh.
one on your desk because I know that Karen Elias had contacted you about doing a review. So hope it shows up there someplace.
Yes, definitely. And Marjorie, people are writing comments in the chat section. Yes, yeah, yes. You took my breath away with this poem, is what Karen wrote. Oh, Julian, I am headed your way. I see you. I'm gonna ask you to start video. Yeah, Heart Speaks is a wonderful book. There we go. I'll be able to make you spotlight now. All right, Julian, all yours.
Oh, okay. I still don't see myself, but that's all right. And I'm glad that the logo of my little publishing venture disappeared. I have not been sure how to get rid of that, Malika, and I've been working on it. But at any rate, the baseball poem reminded me of something that's dear to my heart. I live in St. Louis, and I'm a Cardinals fan. And this year, a sort of favorite player of mine, Matt Carpenter, was discarded by the Cardinals because he wasn't hitting, and went to Texas for a while, and then was taken up by the Yankees, and now he's setting the world on fire up there in the Big Apple, which is, warms my heart. And so that's part of the background of this poem. Also, there's a place in Iowa. You may remember the movie Field of Dreams. There's a place in Iowa that this poem alludes to too. It's called Field of Dreams. They gathered as to a shrine, as to a place where prayer had been valid, not to kneel, but to play or to observe a sacred game. Sound of their own wheels drove them crazy, but the year Matt Carpenter rose from the dead and flashed across the great white way like a comet, there was still America. There were still the boys of summer, Men playing a boy's game, dressed in the holy garments of acolytes, in gladiatorial splendor, stadiums full or empty, still arrayed about a plate we all call home.
Oh, Julian, thank you.
Nice.
Yes, we are having, so I have two more readers written down. Karen and then Regina. Ooh, there you are, Karen. I'm looking for you. Thanks. Yep, can't go wrong with baseball is what Marjorie just said.
Right? Yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, you're
Yes.
good.
Okay. Scott, I just want to thank you for writing this book. Well, for writing all your books. I love this book. I came to it with some preconceived ideas, and you just knocked it out of the ballpark further than I was even anticipating. So just thank you so much. And so I did a really weird thing today. I was like, well, I'd like to write something in response to it. I don't know if I pulled it off, but I'm going to read it anyway. So what I did was take the verbs from your table of contents and use those for the first part of the poem, and I used your nouns for the last part. So we'll see how this goes. The title is, and I should say too that one of the things I love about this book so much is not just the poems, but there's such a journey. It's like I just feel a really emotional journey through the book, and it just really touched me. So this is my thank you. Leaving the state of living in the red and the white lies and the blue. Erasing the living state of a part of his heart, a man steps up to the bar. He may have set the bar too high. We'll see about that later or sooner. The man is attempting diluting. The man is attempting forgiving. This is thirst. This is his living his part in the march away from the tasty of punishing hope toward the hope of rehabilitating hope. This is his assessing the blues. The state we are now in has us so seeing red, feeling dread, feeling dead inside of it. Harmony, guys and dolls, makes for such a sweet song, bringing red letter days where red faces fade, where the skies turn from darkness to cloudless sky blue. One day, a man sees a bar. One day, a man walks toward the bar, past the red light districts, past the revival tent sale, past racks of clothes that no longer fit him, past uncertainty, past the cone of silence to get smart. One day, a man steps up to the bar, waves at the blues, and whispers adieu toward the red, and the bar is the right height. It is level, and the man is level-headed and lighter-hearted. And this may or may not be great literature, but it's definitely music to the ears.
Yes, oh, that's awesome. Karen, some fabulous comments in here. And Scott, that must feel pretty cool to hear that reflected back.
Or really weird.
Really weird. Oh, yeah, past the cone of silence to get smart. And Susanna wrote, you've invented a new form. And I think we could call that, yeah, I like it. Regina, we are coming to see you.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. So, you know, reading a poem with this caliber of wonderful poets, you know, this great caliber of wonderful poets is kind of like trying to make sure you put on your best dress. And so I listened to everyone, and I was just, oh my goodness, what am I going to say? And so I think what I want to share tonight is just something that I've written recently. I know we've gone through a lot of things in the past few days, and so I have a lot to say about those things. But before I say those things, I feel like it's important to search myself. The title of this poem originally was "That Zodiac Stuff is for the Devil," and because I grew up in the South in the Bible Belt, and for a while you know, we couldn't talk about astrology and stuff like that. But this is entitled Stars and Sin. Looking at stars is sin. I'm born in sin. I'm looking at stars to find myself, to find my way, to find an answer, to find the voice in the stars. Many of the righteous followed stars, found Jesus following stars. What a journey. Looking at stars to find their way, to hear that voice, to see it clear. Mama Harriet looked at stars. Mama Harriet knew God, the God she knew. You think that God is your God too? Sounds good to say it, but her God was in the night air and in her mind and in those stars. Have you looked at what happens when you look at stars? Looking at stars have slowed death. Looking at stars have saved lives. Not looking, though, sometimes meant not living. Telling me not to look at stars, telling me not to live, telling me to lower my eyes, telling me to hear your Jesus. Is my Jesus your Jesus? My Jesus was born under the stars. Ain't no sin in him. My Jesus was born under stars. Ancient books say that his star shone brightly above him. Folks have walked for years guided by the stars, but now messages from the stars are devilish. Stars worship God, even better than flesh. Line up and listen, better than flesh. I look at stars. That makes me sin. I look at stars because I am born in sin. I look at stars. They are messengers of science and salvation because they know God. And I want God to show me the way. And I want God to keep me whole. Thank you.
Oh my heavens, that is awesome. All right, I just want to say thank you all. Yeah, I mean, you got to read through the comments. I'll Regina, go to them because I don't want you to miss these. Thank you all. And thank you, Scott, for letting us listen to your book and you read these poems. And obviously you inspired a lot of people to read specific poems and even one person to write a poem. There's the cover again, if you haven't already seen Living in the Red State Blues. I want to make sure I don't miss any thing that I need to say. Yes, thanks to all the readers, Susanna. It was great to be in y'all's company. Be well. I'm taking the month of July off from Thursday, so please don't give up on us. We'll be back in August.
Thanks, Scott.
All right,
This was
guys.
great.
Hey, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
And Karen,
Yes,
I am so honored. That was just incredible.
you are too
was.
kind
I will
always,
tell you a
Scott.
story about that sometime. All right.
You need to, bye guys.